Hello, and you're welcome to yet another edition of Unfiltered Conversation on Cleveland TV. My name is Frank Kalidemida, and I like to remind us that Cleveland TV in Diaspora is an online platform created with a vision to unite the world of African tourism for the growth of the continent. So if you've not signed up with us today, please do so on www.cleveland.com. All right, today we'll be celebrating the talent and excellence in African hospitality and tourism by taking a look at the Pyne Awards Africa 2023. All right, my guest are Dr. Hubert Nkube, the ATB chairman, and also Mrs. Amanka Amatoko from Deku, who is a hospitality expert, advanced training and policy analyst. So welcome to the program, sir and madam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good having you with us. All right, Dr. Nkube, I'll start with you. Please, let's take a look at African tourism as it stands today. All right, are we getting this right? Are we where we ought to be even at this year, 2023? Or are there things that we ought to do or put in place to have a better sector favoring the continent?
Thank you so much. Very much excited once again to be on your show. And look, Africa, which is where our passion is embedded. Africa is one of the continents with so much diversity in our cultures. I mean, with all these breathtaking landscapes and rich wildlife, making it an attractive destination for tourists across the globe. Without a doubt, African tourism holds a tremendous potential for our economic growth, for our job creation and our cultural exchange. By addressing the current challenges and implementing the suggestive strategies, African countries can attract more tourists and capitalize on the continent's unique offerings. With proper investment, sustainable practices, and effective marketing, African tourism can thrive and contribute to the overall development of this beautiful continent of ours. We still have a lot to do. We appreciate that much has been done. Much effort actually is being channeled towards promoting Africa as the tourist destination of choice. So we do have other issues that needs to be implemented, that needs to be addressed, that will actually assist in having a seamless exercise in as far as bringing volumes and volumes and volumes in this beautiful continent of ours.
All right, Mrs. Ndeko, I'll get to you shortly, but Chairman, I need you to come in here, all right? You are the chairman of the African Tourism Board, all right? And I've had a series of guests on this program, and I'm told that the future, that Africa is the future of the world, all right? I really want to know what that means, and then adding to that, let's get to see some challenges. You made mention of one or two things about the challenge, but let's elaborate on it. What are the challenges facing the continent so that in the years to come, when the diaspora is waiting for Africa to be a resting home for all, we don't start having challenges of accommodative environment to accept these people in?
Well, the challenges we have, well, of course, the inadequate infrastructure and limited accessibility. And also we are looking at negative perceptions and the stereotypes that has actually hindered some of our progresses. I mean, Africa faces actually significant infrastructure gaps, including a lack of quality roads, airports, and public transportation, systems. We are so glad that in as far as the airports are concerned, quite a number of member states have done so much within that sphere. And then this makes it difficult for tourists to travel within the continent, to explore, different regions and visit remote areas of interest. We have always said the best tourism is to reach to the remote areas where our citizens are dwelling. That's the best tourism, to explore and experience our divine and our diverse, especially in our culture, experience our food. So you need to have the access to those places needs to be addressed. But we are so glad, like I indicated, that look, a lot of effort is being done, is being made throughout our member states, who have realized a need really to position their destinations as the destinations of choice. So we need to work on our infrastructure, we need to work on our accessibility, and also we need to position and tell our narrative as Africans. This negative perception and the stereotypes that we have received from other quarters of life. Africa's image has often been marred by these negative depictions perpetuated by the international media, including portrayals of poverty, disease, and political instability. So the onus is up to us as Africans to say, let us tell a good story. Let's portray what Africa is all about.
Right. Mrs. Ndeku, I'll come to you there. You are also a hospitality and a tourism expert. Let's get to hear your rating of the sector as it stands today.
So for the sector, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll say we're at a 5, being that over 10 years ago, we're probably at a 2. So it shows that there's growth going on. There's a lot being done by several countries who have seen the potential of tourism and what it can do to their economy and their GDP. There's still a lot of work to do. Like my honorable colleague said, there's a lot of work to do. We still need to change the narrative of what Africa is all about. Living in the US, there are a lot of people who have that interest in coming to Africa, but because of stories they've heard and the narrative that is being portrayed about Africa, they're a bit skeptical. But still, there's still some countries who have been able to tell their story and have become very attractive for people to come. So when I get the chance to talk to a lot of tourists who want to come to Africa, first thing that comes to mind for them is safari, the experience of safari. But we still have other sights and sounds that can attract people. We have the beautiful ocean, we have beautiful, we have festival, we have arts that we can also portray as a strong point. So for me, for the industry, there needs to be a very strong synergy in how we're going to tell our story. Get the private sector very much involved, because word of mouth and experience sells stories. Let domestic travel also thrive. That would also help in telling the stories about the beautiful sights and sounds of Africa.
You mentioned one or two points there about changing the narratives, and I would say that as part of the challenges affecting this sector. Apart from that, can you speak more on that, on how to handle these challenges affecting this sector in Africa?
So in terms of narratives, telling a story, we have experts within that sector that are good at telling story. The media, we have journalists who can tell the story. We can have documentaries. We tend to watch other documentaries of other countries and their tourism destinations. Why can't Africa do something like that to portray the real beauty of Africa? We are the ones that will tell our stories. We can work with the private sector who are experts in storytelling to do that for us. So coincidentally, there's still some people who are trying their best, but we need to put more effort in marketing our destinations, marketing our continent. The main challenges again is that domestic travel, intra-African travel, it is stressful. Why not make it easier so that it will attract more people to want to travel within Africa? We are connected. There's always one border or the other that leads us up. So why not make that easy, the visa process easy, the ease of faster, the logistics process is easy and simple, and that's where the because there are various companies who are experts in providing these services that can be so far about having that strong synergy with the continent and deciding this is the way forward. This is how we want to sell and market Africa. How do we go about it? Let's create a roadmap for Africa. It's not just about creating roadmaps for individual countries. Let there be a collective roadmap for Africa because it's a continent that's beautiful, that has so much potential. Let's start a framework. Let's have a journey, a path that will lead us to that promised land. And you'll be surprised how all the countries that um, participate in this joint venture, how much they will benefit from it. So the main thing is let's have a framework that
All right, Dr. Kube, I would like you to continue from where she stopped and then add to what one or two things to what she had just said, which is a collecting roadmap, connecting roadmap. All right, and also I need to talk on connectivity within the intra or inter-African countries. How do we resolve issues connecting to this?
Yeah, thank you so much. As my colleague has indicated, a need for a collective effort and a collective exercise, and also aiding in overcoming actually these negative sentiments, negative stereotypes, and perceptions, by the way. African countries, they need to invest, in effective destination marketing campaigns that will then highlight positive aspects of, our tourism offerings and emphasis on safety and security measures in place, which is quite very much fundamental. Security is the issue. Like we have alluded that the perception, if one area is affected by unfortunate circumstances, the whole of the continent is painted with a black brush, which we need definitely as member states come together, collaborate, and have a unified approach in selling this destination in a basket full, so that we address, yes, issues that needs to be addressed. We need definitely to address them. So we need to put more effort in addressing the issues that involve collaboration between the governments and private sector entities and educational institutions as well, who play a pivotal role in terms of reshaping and developing tourism-focused educational programs. We have always, as African Tourism Board, maintained that domestic tourism is the only sustainable tool that will enhance our economies. Our domestic populace, they need to be integrated in the mainstream of tourism so that they become the role players. They become brand and grand ambassadors of their destination. So we need really to work as a team. Time is gone where we work in silos, where each and every member state has his own approach. It is time to synergize now, put our efforts together in reshaping and marketing our destination.
I think I asked that same question in the tourism event I attended here in my country yesterday about connecting all the sector to like work together to achieve the aims and objectives of what we want in the sector. And I guess most people are also coming in with some program or the order to like achieve this aim in the industry. And Mrs. Ndeko, you come in there with the big Pyne initiative. All right, you obviously having this program to create a change in the sector and to award people that have done excellently well in the industry. Let's get to hear your assessment of it. What is the Pyne Awards?
So Pyne Awards is an annual event that we organize. This is the 6th edition. It's a Pan-African event that brings the industry pioneers together. When I say industry pioneers, I'm talking about both tourism, hospitality, travel, aviation, the whole tourism ecosystem. So we bring them together in one room and celebrate those that are doing outstanding work, who are impacted in the industry genuinely, not just making empty noise, but genuinely impacting on the industry. I feel like recognition is one of the things that motivates people. If you recognize someone's hard work, you're motivating them to do more. And in that way, that motivates and contributes more to the group.
All right. You made mention of one or two things, although the network was a bit bad there, so I couldn't get one of those things. But why the focus on Africa? What do you intend to, what are the aims, the objectives, the primary focus? You said one or two things about that, I know, but please elaborate on that.
Okay, the focus on Africa is that over the years, Africans have been relying on other continents to recognize their hard work, right? There's nothing wrong in you being recognized at home by your own people and you also contributing to the growth of your own continent in terms of tourism. Now, this is not just even relying on just tourism. I'm talking any other sector. If you're contributing to the growth of your region, your continent, there's nothing wrong in you being celebrated versus you relying on another continent to recognize your hard work. So the focus on Africa is more like, let's bring the Africans that are actually contributing to growth to the limelight. Now, that also opens up an opportunity for them with the other regions or the other continents, because now if you're recognized for the work you've done, you can be invited to other regions to also work with them and see how you can bring those investments down to your continent. So I feel like it's about time Africa stands on its own and recognizes its own efforts and its own people who are boosting its image. So that's why currently the focus is on Africa. We will at some point make an extension to Africans in the diaspora who are also contributing and doing outstandingly as an African. So the beauty of Africa is the strength of Africa, and that's why we're focused on the African region.
I don't know, Ukobe, you are directly or indirectly collaborating with the Pyne Awards events as well. Can you share with us your role of the events?
Look, we're so excited, and I just want to salute my colleague Amaka to have come up with this great initiative where we're saying, look, we really need to appreciate our own, especially while they're still listening to us, while they're still alive, to say, look, through your efforts and contributions, we want to acknowledge. And it's one way of motivating those leaders who have championed a good cause in contributing towards our beautiful continent. Yes, African Tourism Board, we are rallying behind this great initiative, and we're definitely looking forward to more robust discussions within the space of the conference. And remember, it's not about awarding, but it goes beyond that, where we are looking at investment conference that will be actually hosted along the Pyne Awards. So where we're saying, as the private and the public sector, can we come together? Can we appreciate? Can we start to pollinate from one another? Appreciating good practices. That's what makes a great continent, to appreciate those who have contributed positively. And how do can we emulate from them good practices so that we are able to implement those good ideas in our destination. So we salute, we support, we rally behind this great event. And I believe and trust that Cleveland will be able to really be part of these great initiatives. Don't be left behind.
We'll try our best as much as possible. All right, we mentioned some challenges earlier, just so I'm still with you. Some challenges earlier. So do you think hosting of such events is going to affect or positively most of the challenges we outlined earlier? Do you see it affecting it positively?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. Remember, it is only after the COVID-19 where Africa started to talk among us themselves, where Africa started to appreciate what God has actually given us in Africa. We have had, we have been living under the shadow of dependence for quite a long time. So these events, they are bringing strategic players within the investment sector, within the tourism sector, within the educational sector to say, let us now talk with one voice. And we will be addressing some of the fundamental issues that have kept Africa at the backdrop of the economic growth. So we will be having those robust discussions that will be addressing exactly what we're talking about, the challenges that we face as a sector and challenges that we face as member states. We are saying it is time for us to converge. Let's speak with one voice. Let's drive the African agenda. Let us achieve our objectives as a continent so that at the end of the day, we are going to have a united African approach for our economies.
To add to
After that,
to add to
yeah, please do.
Said, part of the event for our conference, there will be paper presentations that gives like an idea on how the framework and roadmap for Africa in tourism should be, what it should look like. So yes, based on what he just said, the discussions and conversations are very serious, and we will not just have those conversations at the conference. We'll also follow through to ensure that we start that journey.
All right, so let's look at the criteria for nominations. What are the criteria for nomination?
First of all, excellence. You have to be excellent. Your contributions need to be seen and felt. The impact needs to be felt. Your online reviews, your customer reviews, especially for the hospitality industry, that's very important. Star rating, and service facilities, the standard, the quality of what you're rendering. For the individuals, it's more about how much the impact of what they've done or their initiative has had on the African continent and its people. The way the process is done is people sending nominations based on people they know have been contributing and need to be recognized. We have a panel of judges who are experts and top industry leaders who also select the best, and then we publish them out for the public to vote. Whoever wins gets announced at the event and celebrated all across Africa.
All right, now you've had this program since in 2018. Am I correct?
Yeah.
All right, and all the destinations, the events has always been done in Africa. Now, how do you rate African locations that you just so far for the events?
I will rate African locations. I like to use on a scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, I think we're at 6 because a lot of facilities are really, really trying to be competitive enough and match up to world standard. So I'll say yes, we're doing well, but there's still room for improvement. But I feel like we're doing fantastic because if Africa wasn't an attractive destination, we wouldn't have the top hotel brands coming to build hotels or invest in our continent. There's beauty in Africa and they want to be a part of it. It's just that we would love to see more indigenous hotel chains owned by African hotel chains that will be part of the ecosystem.
All right, Dr. Nkube, I'll get back to you. I did mention about a program on an event that I attended yesterday, and the stakeholders there were able to conclude on one thing, and that was the fact that for us to be able to build a system, stakeholders and professionals has to be involved in it. Now, what is the role of stakeholders and then professionals in building a viable tourism sector in Africa?
Yes, look, like we have indicated that a collective approach and a collective exercise will definitely position this beautiful continent. We need all stakeholders to join hands together. The whole system of the tourism value chain, economic value chain, agriculture, they all form part of our drive towards a sustainable approach in our economies in Africa. So it is fundamental, vital for all of us to join hands together. No one should be left behind. We need the sectors to come together. We need the sectors to drive a single objective, and we need the private sector and the public sector. Remember, when we talk about the public sector, those are initiators, and those are drivers who actually craft up and come up with some of the policies that needs to be enhanced. That should be passed over to your private sector. These are the doers. These are your ground soldiers. So we need everybody to come on board so that we can definitely achieve what we want to achieve, goals of this sector. And I'm so glad that tourism, it's one of the tools, driving forces. It's one of the dynamite. It's one of the catalysts that we need to use. One, to unite. Two, to grow our economies. Three, to recover our economies. And four, to start to appreciate, to say, how do we come together as a bloc? How do we reshape ourselves as a bloc so that we divided, by the way, we won't go anywhere in terms of Africa's growth and Africa's economies. We need to speak with one voice. We need to have the same drive. Hence, it is important to bring all stakeholders together towards one objective.
I totally agree there with you, which is coming together, all the stakeholders, professionals coming together to make this work possible. All right. You have said that, Madam have said that, and there's so many other stakeholders in the industry have said the same thing. But my question is this: who is to be responsible for bringing everybody together? Well, everybody keeps saying that, but yet in the midst of it, we are not really together. You know, I attended an event yesterday, like I said earlier, and brought about 5-6 different ministries under tourism and hospitality together at the top. But in that event, they started introducing themselves to each other, which means they didn't even know each other before that event of yesterday. Now, if we are to come together, who is supposed to bear the card and then bring everybody together? Whose responsibility is that? But Kupe, please, so take it up from the but let's get to your view.
Sorry.
Hello, Doc.
Okay, I'm back. My apologies.
Hello, Doc, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Did you get my question?
No.
Oh, so sorry about that. All right, I said, well, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, okay. What I said was, I think Dr. Kubele is out.
No.
Ma'am, please, I need to.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. It's all right. So my question was this: we keep talking about bringing the sector, the stakeholders in the sector together to correct the challenges in the industry. All right. You said it, Madam has said it, and even most people that are in the events that are attended said almost the same thing. So which means it's a total agreement for every one of us. But whose responsibility is it to bring everyone together? Who should do that?
Well, as African is that for me? Yes. As African Tourism Board, we are so excited that our task and our objective and our mission and our vision is to bring Africa together, to speak with one voice. And we have managed actually to bring quite a number of strategic players, not only within the continent of Africa, but beyond the Caribbean, beyond the Asians. we have brought them together to say, let's speak with one voice. What have made Rwanda successful? Let us share a good story. And at the end of the day, it does not end on sharing the good story, but it ends on emulating some of the good practices that have made them successful in their destination. Yes, as tourism boards, as also our focus is to say, why do we have to work, in silos? We need to come together, breaking all these divides that always separates us, breaking away from the stereotypes as well that has separated us. It's not about us, but it's about the nation. So it is fundamental for the private sector, for tourism boards to play a pivotal role on regrouping the continent, on regrouping the ministers of tourism, the ministers of agriculture, the ministers of finances, so that we bring them all together. We have managed to do that. Hence now, as we are working with the African Union to say how best can we work together as an organ that is on the ground, that brings all these strategic players together. So we are doing what we're supposed to be doing to make sure that even the agenda items of the African Union, they are implemented not after 2023, not after 2030 or 2063, but they need to be implemented now so that we then start growing our economies in Africa. So we are doing that as the African Tourism Board.
Right, thank you so much, Dr. Mkude. Madam, I would like you to pick up from where he stopped. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, so first of all, the people responsible for bringing us together is us, the players in the industry, right? We have a role to play to come together and be open to collaborations and be open to synergy. That's the first part. Everybody needs to have an open mind and a common goal to say, this is our goal, this is what we want to achieve. Let's open up to get that done. Organizations like the African Tourism Board, the African Union, and even the UNWTO, United Nations World Tourism Organization, I feel like they are the organizations that can also come together and spearhead this synergy of different countries. Now, the beautiful thing is there's a structure already in place that makes it easy. We can easily work with the tourism boards of the different countries, right? So they are the direct contact that can work with the organizations I just mentioned. And we create a structure where African Tourism Board can hold that responsibility to make sure that everything that is being planned or whatever roadmap we come together is being implemented. So like I said earlier, the first step is for us, the players, to agree to synergy, to want to work together, to collaborate, and not be that negatively competitive, right? And then organizations like African Tourism Board, African Union, and UNWTO can spearhead that journey.
Thank you so much. Dr. Mkude, you were attending an event of the African Union, the AU. So was that part of the initiative? And could you tell us more about that event?
Well, yes, having had affirmed joining hands with the African Union as a key strategic partner in the enhancement of the tourism economies in Africa, which, by the way, the AU stands as a fundamental pinnacle in coordination of policies, as we have indicated, and strategies and integration of 54 member states together. So our partnership necessitates of regular dialogues on strategic sessions, strategic action plans in fostering greater and wider cooperation and in establishing adequate working relationships in a successful and implementable and actioning on our memorandum of understanding that we just signed. And having it successfully bilateral on our low-hanging fruits identified as priority projects in promoting sustainable tourism development and boosting the intra-Africa trade within the tourism space. So we are having a regular exercise with African Union where we, both sides, we report on the successes on the ground and also on looking at mechanisms on how do we then implement some of the good practices, and also in discussing some of the agenda items to say, look, you have quite a very good file of these agenda items. Which are your priority ones? Why are they not being implemented? Here we are as the ground soldiers. We want to make sure that it is implemented. And we cannot be sitting here at this point in time after so many years of the formation of this great movement, where we are still discussing issues of visa, where we are discussing issues of connectivity. I mean, where we're discussing issues of saying, how do we start appreciating women and letting them in within the mainstream of our economies? Something is lacking. So we give them, robust discussions to say, can we get these implemented as of yesterday so that African Union really represent the interest of this great continent? I'm actually, I'm in South Africa, sitting in South Africa here, and there is a high heave of excitement because of BRICS Summit that will be hosted in South Africa. And to me, it really pains my heart to say it takes somebody from the Western who will come and ignite our interest as Africa to say, let us create a BRICS currency. Yet we have an organ like the African Union who actually came up with this proposal a long time ago to say, can we create our own currency in Africa? So it's being overshadowed, those brilliant objectives. So as African Tourism Board, our conversations with AU, they are quite very robust, and we don't apologize when we have these discussions to say, gone are the days where we spend time discussing, times debating. It is time to start implementing as Africans in Africa. It does not need to get somebody who comes in here and start initiating some of those practices that are supposed to be initiated by the member states. Something is wrong. So we need to recorrect that. Yes, on regular basis, we always have this conversation with our organ, the African Union.
I didn't have anything to add to that.
You said it all. It's about time that we have this conversation and spearhead our own story. That brings us back to what we talked about. We are the ones that will tell our story. We are the ones that will decide the framework and the path that we want to take our continent to. We can't keep relying on the other regions. We have to take charge. Good to see industry leaders and possible. Likes of Dr. Pyne, lots of industry leaders are really coming together to push. But I still preach the part, synergy, collaboration is the key. We can't stand alone. Everyone can be the leader. Just follow and support, and let's make it happen. Let's stop talking about it. Let's do more work. Let's talk.
Now let's take it back to the Pyne African Awards. All right. Let's get to hear the dates of the event. What dates are you having?
Okay. So we're starting with a conference and exhibition, which is starting on the 6th and 7th of September 2023, and then we have the awards gala on the 8th. On the 9th, we're having a bit of a fan trip around Lagos to show some of our guests the beautiful sights and sounds of Lagos. And yes, that's it. So from the 6th down to the 8th is the main event, and then every
location of the venue?
It's happening in Lagos, Nigeria, at the Echo Hotels and Suites Convention Center, the beautiful country of Nigeria, the giant of Africa, if I can put it out there.
Exactly. So if I want to be part of that program, how do I access it?
Okay, so you can go to our website or our social media pages. Our website is www.thepyneawardsafrica.com. We also are on Instagram, on LinkedIn, or you can give us a call. We have our contact number on our website.
So can you leave us the last word from the Pyne Awards? Ladies first. That's how I'll get back to you. But let's get to
the Pyne Awards Africa is here to stay. We're here to keep impacting on the industry and encouraging and motivating those that are actually doing most of the work. We're open to also involve more countries. Currently, we have about 19 countries participating. We're open to have more member states coming in. So we're sending a lot of love, and we're saying well done to those that are actually impacting the industry. And we are watching, we're seeing you. Whatever you're doing is not going unnoticed. You will be recognized at some point, and we're here to make sure that happens.
Thank you very much. And then, I would like you to leave us the last one from, let's say, from the Pyne Awards, number one, from AU2, and then from the African Tourism Board.
Thank you so much. All roads lead to Lagos. Pyne Awards, Pyne Awards. We're looking forward. My seat is reserved, by the way. Yes, some of the recommendations for an improved tourism sector in Africa, we need to have an enhanced marketing strategy. We need to develop infrastructure. Governments and stakeholders should prioritize the development of infrastructure in key tourism or tourist locations. Strengthen security measures, very fundamental. Diversity tourism offerings. Africa is known for its rich culture, its heritage, diverse landscapes, and abundance of wildlife. To attract a wider of tourists, it is important to diversify the tourism offering. This may involve promoting cultural festivals, adventure tourism, ecotourism, and medical tourism. By offering a variety of experiences, Africa can cater to the interests of different types of travelers. What sets us apart as a continent is our diversity, it's our love, it's our cuisinos. Africa, I've always maintained no other continent that can come closer to what Africa has to offer. Let us open up, let us assist, let us indulge, let us enjoy. But over and above, let's meet in Lagos. Pyne Awards, it's at the door. Thank you.
I like your zeal, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Kubet Nkube, the chairman of African Tourism Board, and also Amaka Udeko. Thanks so much for being our guest this afternoon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. The pleasure is ours.
All right, and we draw the curtain here for today. Thank you for staying tuned and watching this program. And to next edition, we'll welcome your way with another guest on this program. Do have a blessed day. Bye.